Good evening. Welcome to Live in Conversation. Good evening. Good evening. I am Rennie Antoine live with attorney Daphne Chameleon. How you doing, Daphne?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. You look fabulous, as a matter of fact.
Haha, thank you. You too.
How's your day?
Good, good. Busy Wednesdays. For whatever reason, we always talk about that. It's the busiest day of the week for me.
It's like the hump day to just go over the
Yeah,
rest of the week and then go to the weekend.
that's true.
Well, we're gonna have an amazing topic this evening. It's 5 days away from voting, right? 5 days from November 3rd.
Yep.
Exactly. So this evening we're going to be talking about immigrants, non-US citizen and voting. And what do we need to know right now?
Hmm.
So what is happening? Are there any new immigration news? So what is your take on everything that's going on right now? And as a matter of fact, let's go back to our disclosure in regards to this conversation. We hear every Wednesday. It's just to have a conversation. And then so we're saying it's live in conversation. That means we are inviting you as well, who have been with us every Wednesday, who's watching this. Comment. I'm already seeing some comments. Kenson Metaya, appreciate you. Uh, so yes, I'm gonna post those later on. But then this is a conversation, so we invite you to ask question. I mean, you have an attorney that you can ask question to. Go ahead and take advantage of it. And then also in our conversation, it's for general purpose. It's not to give you legal advice. It's not to give you financial advice. All we're doing is just having a conversation. And if we need to go deeper, or if you have a specific question in regard to your situation, feel free to reach out to Daphne. I'm gonna be posting her information. And or if you have maybe a financial question, you can reach out to me as well. So with that being said, this is going to be a conversation. Join in, share it, let us know your thought. And Daphne, it's in your hand. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so I will add to our disclaimer that um, Renee works in the financial industry and I'm an attorney. Anything we say today, like she says, a conversation. I'm an attorney. I'm not your attorney, so I have to say that if you have a legal issue, you can contact me and we can do a consultation. But the information I'm giving out tonight is just for informational purposes only. So our information I'm giving out does not establish an attorney-client privilege. So that's it. I have to say that in addition to the disclaimer that Renee said, just adding a little bit more.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So
Yeah.
let's get started. What's the big immigration news right now? What is going on in regards to immigration?
Yeah, so there's, immigration is ever changing. There's always something going on. The latest news that we heard is I believe 545 students that were taken at the border when they came here with their parents that were separated from their parents when they got to the U.S. Still have not been reunited with their parents. Most of those people's parents have been deported, and these children are in the United States now, and we don't know where their parents are, and we have not been able to locate them, which is absolutely heartbreaking. And you can't imagine that these children are of all ages. It's just really sad. Imagine a 2 or 3 year old that happened to you. They can't tell you who their parents are, and it's where are they? Are they in foster care? Are they still in detention? Where have they been placed? Who's tracing them? Can we do DNA? All those things. Something's going to have to be figured out. But those children still have not been reunited with their parents.
Okay, so now I'm gonna have to actually to follow up on this.
Yeah, we will know. Like, yeah, we'll see like what's gonna happen. But currently, that's where it stands.
So basically, what I'm hearing is that there's over 400 children that's been separated from their parents, and like the authorities don't even know who the parents are.
Right,
Is
over
that what you're
500.
saying?
Right, it was
Over
five. Right,
500.
it was like 545 kids. Yeah, when they got to the border, many of these people were trying to seek asylum, and so this was under the current administration. And what they did was they separated them. They took the parents in one location and put the kids in another detention. And then many of these parents have been deported to their countries, and the kids were here, right? Because you can't just, there's
Yes.
processes to do. And then, but there was no, you know, what they're saying was
Wasn't organized.
it was not organized. And so there was no way, like, how do you know who their parents are? And now their parents have been deported to their country when these kids are here.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That is so unfortunate. Do you know maybe like if any organization are working on that, kind of
Oh,
trying to look at the parents, like what's being done?
well, supposedly attorneys for the government under this administration were, but yeah, there are most immigration stuff when you see most lawsuits that are happening, most that is being done by these organizations. There are organizations like ACLU and multiple other. They'll team up with law firms and other not-for-profit organizations that just specialize in immigration rights for people that are suing the government. That's why a lot of stuff that has been that they have enacted laws and things that have been stopped because these organizations have sued. So yeah, this is coming to light because organizations are out there screaming and saying what's going on. So yeah, it's not. I assume it was national news last week, so I'm assuming that something is going to be done. I hope, right? I just hope these are not just lost children in the U.S. and that there will be some. We'll have to follow up. I feel like something else will come down the line.
Wow.
It went so public.
I mean that's heartbreaking, especially being a parent. Can you imagine being like your child being snatched from you and you cannot see your kid? You don't even know where your kid is.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really heartbreaking.
yeah. For
Oh
the parent,
wow.
the parent, of course, and for the child, it's traumatic. It's
Yeah,
very
that is traumatic. Of course it's traumatic.
yeah,
Wow. I mean that's traumatic for me, imagining
yeah.
a
Just
child.
listening to it, right? Yeah, yeah,
Man, I mean, I have two kids. I have my daughter, 7. My daughter's 7. I have my son, almost 3. It's like we're trying to look for a better life for them. I mean, I think no parent is gonna go through what these people are going through. To just like have the child be taken away from them. That's
yeah.
heartbreaking. I'm not gonna stand this too long. I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously, this tells us that you know, I mean, making us aware of this thing tells us what do we need to do going forward. If we don't want to see stuff like that to continue, because it's not a, I mean, this is not a black thing. This is not a white thing. This is not a Hispanic thing. This is not an Asian thing. This is a human. That's a human issue. You
Yeah.
have kids. Maybe you don't have kids, but maybe you have nephews, cousins. It's a human issue, and therefore, the only thing like you and I can do right now is go out and vote. So,
Yeah.
what do you have to say about the what's going on with the voting in regards to immigration right now?
Right. So I'll take that as two parts. So I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. I will because I do want to say, we are less than a week away from voting, and early voting is still open and pretty much everywhere. And so I have been telling everybody, and people have been saying the same thing. What is your voting plan? Right? Many people have voted early already. Many people have gone in person and voted early, or mailed in ballots or voted early. Even if your voting plan is to vote on the day of the election, make a plan. What does make a plan mean? Make a plan means that if you're going to vote the day of, or regardless of when you vote, right? Um, Plan to say, we don't know if it's going to be short or it could be something that's really long. So be prepared. Like in the past, when people have voted, or if you've never voted, it's been quick, but this time, because they're anticipating much more people voting, it could take you 2, 3 hours. And if you're not planning for that, you didn't wear the right shoes, you didn't bring a bottle of water, you didn't have the right clothing, right? Because and also we're in COVID-19, so a lot of waiting areas are outdoors because they don't want all these people crowding indoors. If it's going to be really so, that's what I'm saying is a voter plan. If you're going to vote on Tuesday, that's fine. You're going to go very early, or you're going to go a couple hours before close because you want to make sure that you have enough time just in case it ends up being a long time. So make a plan and vote. There's a lot of organizations out there that are helping people. If you don't know if you're properly, if you're even registered, if you think you registered but you don't remember, or you don't even know where to vote, there's a number 866 hour votes. So that's 866 hour vote. The Okay, so yeah, 866 hour vote. The cool thing about it is it's there for before you vote and it's there for the day you vote. So let's say you go to vote, and let's say the person hassles you when you do go vote, right? And you don't feel like the way they're talking to you, you kind of feel like something's off. This is not right. You don't feel like you don't feel right. You call that number 866 hour vote and report it because they're keeping track of that. They're trying to figure out what's going on. If they need to send people over. There's lots of organizations. We're in the state of Illinois, city of Chicago. There's lots of organizations that are mobilizing. They're trying to have, election officials that are, neutral parties. They have, they're trying to get attorneys to volunteer, especially the day of
Yeah, I saw that. Mhm.
yeah, the day that you actually go and vote, November 3rd, Tuesday, they're trying to get attorneys to be at the voting places in case there are irregularities that they can go ahead and report, and to give some comfort to the people too if they do see something's awry. So there is stuff out there. So if you do see something that makes you go, this seems weird, or I'm being hassled, or I'm being asked for multiple forms of IDs, or even ID things that they're not supposed to do, then or they could ask you, but like if they're hassling you, you need to call 866 hour vote. So that's
Uh,
for and if you can vote. So this is my thing.
yes,
One last
yes,
thing.
exactly.
Since I'm on my soapbox, let me continue. If you have the ability to vote, if you are in the United States, whether you were born here or not, and you have the ability to vote, I will always tell people vote. People, whichever side you're for, it's your right. People died for people to vote, to have the right to vote. So vote. That's one. Two, it matters. It really, really matters. There, whatever your beliefs are, so a lot of people say, well, your vote doesn't count. There might be, electoral college, etc. That's not true. Your vote does count. If it didn't count, there wouldn't be so many things that people are doing to suppress the vote, to make it hard for people to vote. If it didn't count, they wouldn't need to do that, right? And then also, there's judges out there. There's local judges out there that affect you, right? It affects you if something happens, you get pulled over and you're being treated unfairly, and you have to go before a judge, and you have a horrible judge that just looks at you and says, you're guilty, and you could have voted that judge out. So that's the other thing, is do your research, right? There are a lot of judges on the ballot. You might not know who to vote for. The Black Women Lawyers Association, the Cook County Bar Association, the Chicago Bar Association, the newspapers. These are all organizations that have looked at the judges and give their recommendation. If you're not sure about a judge, let's say you looked at the list, there's a couple names on there.
There's so many, like
There
you don't
is
know who they
so,
are. Mhm.
right. So you pick an organization. So let's say you pick let's say I say Black Women Lawyers Association. I choose them because there are people on their board who work for the public defender's office, and there are people who work on their board that or who are in their organization, excuse me, members that work for the state's attorney's office. This is for the criminal courts. They work with these judges. So I say, I value their opinion. So if they do not recommend the judge, I would, look at that, and then look at the name and Google the name, right? If you see a story, you might be surprised and see an actual story about the judge, which is very possible. And you might read the story and see why people are complaining about this judge, and see if that's something you agree with or not agree with. So just do, but I understand that, as far as there are a lot of judges, and you're like, but
Right.
it matters. So it's worth it to at least check out one of those things. Check out the Chicago, check out too Black Women's Lawyer Association. Check out, I think it's the Chicago
Okay.
Times, and see maybe one recommends certain judges and one doesn't, and Google those because that it'll only be a couple. So like let's say Chicago, I'll just use that for example, Chicago sometimes. Let's say they recommend there's let's say there's 20 judges and they recommend to confirm, 15, but there's 5 that they don't. And then let's say Black Women's Lawyer Association recommends 17 and there's 3. Look at the ones that they don't recommend, right? And Google those people just to see if you don't want to go, because I'm being realistic. I don't expect the most people to Google all 20 judges to see, anything about them, right? But I do see like you can narrow it down by just doing even that search and be like, oh, I didn't even know organizations recommended judges, and then look at who they recommend. Chicago, police department might have judges on there. I don't know if they do. That might be completely different too. So who do you trust? If you trust the police, you're like, I think the police they would know which judges are good. Then look on their site. I'm not saying if they do or don't. I don't know if the police do. I'm just giving you an example.
Yes, yes. So basically, what I'm hearing is that we need to be informed voters. This is not only about a presidential race, okay? It's not just Trump or Biden. There's so many other, I guess, people that we are voting on.
Right.
And then so therefore we have to do our research. Don't just go to the ballot and be blindsided. There's tools and resources that are there that can help us to make informed decision and therefore be informed voters.
Right.
That's great. That's great because I think that the conversation has been like so around the presidential debate that we forget this part of the voting process. And then when we get in, that's when we see this long paper.
Right.
Like, I
Right.
just came here to vote for the president.
Right. Right. Who are these other people? Right. Right.
Exactly. So
It.
I'm no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna, but that might be what you're talking about. I was gonna say about immigrants and non-citizens registering to vote.
Exactly. That's where I was going because I know maybe I think 2 weeks from 2 weeks ago you briefly talk about who can register to vote, and then so maybe just give people a quick reminder about that. If you're not a U.S. citizen, then you shouldn't be out there voting.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yes, U.S. citizens, so non-citizens should not vote, right? So only if you're a U.S. citizen, that's if you're a naturalized citizen, if you were born in the United States, if you are a U.S. citizen, you are eligible to vote if you're over 18, right? 18 and over. If you are a green card holder, if you're undocumented, if you're visiting the U.S., for the very first time and you're excited, you are not eligible to vote, right? And the thing about registering to vote, it could happen very easily, right? Someone could be like, well, of course you can't. Well, a lot of people don't know that. And also, it could actually happen very easily. And 2 ways that are really common is that, if you walk downtown Chicago, there was tons of people walking around like, hey, are you registered to vote? And asking people to vote, or just sign right here, sign your name, sign this information real quick, fill this out really quick, and then you're on a registrar's roll. Or you go to get your driver's license, and they ask you to fill out, would you be interested in voting? Or why don't you fill out the back of this form, and then you're registered to vote. So the problem comes, it's once you get registered to vote, if you're a green card holder and you go to, become a citizen, and you will have violated the law because one of the questions they ask is like, have you ever stated you're a citizen? Well, if you do activities that citizens can do, that's a way that you're saying you're a citizen. And so at that point, it's trouble because you said you're a citizen and you're not supposed to because you're not a citizen, right? And so if you are on a voters registration roll, that's what we call like if you're on some type of roll saying that you're registered to vote, one, of course, do not vote. And two, you need to get off of that list, right? And so I would implore someone to get an attorney, go to actually or a law firm, or there's legal clinics in the city of Chicago as well, and talk to them about getting yourself off of any type of voter registration list, because that really could negatively affect your ability to become a citizen later. If you're not a green card holder, but you are trying to get your green card, that could negatively affect you as well. So it has a lot of consequences, just doing that little act. And it's, like I said, it could happen so easy. It's not hard to register to vote, right? It's not something that takes lots of time. And a lot of times the people asking to register you are like teenagers. I've been
Yeah.
multiple times. I'm not expecting them to question a person. Are you a citizen? And asking all these questions. That's not their job.
And
Their job.
maybe they should though. Maybe they should.
I don't
But
know.
I think people are just assuming that someone who should know if they can vote or not.
Right.
So I guess there's some assumption on both side. So with that being said, I know that recently that I saw that a letter, okay, and then
Mhm.
so that was sent to a non-U.S. citizen,
Right.
okay, and then the letter is saying that, and that's the first time I'm saying this letter. It's saying that it does not show that you are registered to vote at this address, okay, and then
Mhm.
so let's say maybe somebody may not fully read the letter, and then it can be perceived as saying that you're not registered to vote, go vote, but then
Mhm.
really it's saying that you are not registered to vote. So which means that it does not, I guess, it does not differentiate whether this person is a citizen or not. So the fact that they are sending it to everyone, that can cause some confusion to non-US citizen, and maybe immigrants who may not be fully, I guess, grasp the English language, and then
Right.
just thinking that, okay, they're sending me this letter to vote, maybe I need to go out and vote. Have you seen that before? Have you been
I
are
haven't.
you aware of that?
I have not seen that, but that could just be a push now to get as many people to vote as possible. So that's just some type of like, I don't say advertising, not even advertising, but just a push to be
Yeah.
like, maybe they're aware that there's some type of person over the age of 18 in that household,
Living at the address,
right?
exactly.
And that for whatever reason, and that person is not registered to vote. So I would just, the only thing I would be cautious is, I guess I'd have to see the letter. If it was just straight like, hey, you should register to vote because I see you're not registered to vote, or
No,
are you
no.
registered to
It
vote?
was just
It didn't say that. Or
no, it didn't say. It just said, we noticed that you are not registered to
oh
vote at
no,
this address.
okay, okay,
Yeah, something like that. But
okay,
he was not pushy, but he was just saying you're not registered to vote.
okay.
But then, like I said, like going back to what you were saying, it can be like a misunderstanding, and then that this person might think that, okay, especially somebody who's new, maybe they're thinking I should be able to go out and vote since they're sending me this letter.
Right, and even especially because depending on whatever authority is sending that letter and
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, you're not registered to vote," they're thinking, "Well,
Exactly.
these people know that I'm not registered to vote. Maybe I should go vote." And you're seeing a lot of advertisements for voting early, like getting out. Like you're just, so we're all being bombarded all over the place.
Mhm.
Whatever your party affiliation is or non-party affiliation, it's all over, right? We're in election season. They've been talking about this for 3 years, so it's been pretty crazy. So
Exactly.
I could see how that easily could confuse a person, and it would be, yeah, it'd be a really big problem.
Yeah, yeah. No, we don't want that. I mean, like I actually had, I think maybe last week I had a voting I had a little voting situation. So more places open up for voting, because with my daughter's school, I don't think there used to be a voting place before. And then I just went to the school and I saw that it's a voting place. So even though you may regularly go to some place, and now I think I read something with the alderman. The alderman office, they always send like the newsletters. So
Hmm.
you can vote anywhere now. It doesn't matter that if you register there or if that's where you live at, regardless of where you live, you can vote there. Would you say that's correct, or have you
It,
heard that?
I have, so what I've seen is this. Usually, there's a certain like they've changed some of the polling areas, right? So I could see, like, depending on your area, with
Mhm.
maybe you can register at multiple locations within your area, though. Like, you're not gonna be, if we're on the north side, we can't go vote on the south side, right? Because it's not, we're not in their role, right?
Yeah.
But so the typical area that, like, for example, I voted at, my polling station changed. They
Yeah.
changed to a different location, and then they said these are the places you can vote at. So, but it's still within my area. It wouldn't be like in Rosemont or in Hyde Park or something like that. It's still so, but that has changed because they're anticipating a larger amount of people who are voting. So they're, and COVID-19 also, and a lot of these places were small places.
Mhm.
They're expanding the places. They're increasing locations, but within a person's area. Yep.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that because when I got there, I'm like, oh, okay, so I don't have to. And then plus with my area, there's so many places. So that's a side track. So I'm like, okay, let me just go and vote.
Yeah.
And yeah, that didn't go too well. I still have to go back. Yeah, I
You're
have my kids with me. I
oh
thought I could just leave them in the playground. And so that morning, I'm like, I'll do that next time. So yeah, go out and vote, schedule it. Like Daphne says, schedule it because with what happened with me, you might think that you have the time to do it. As a matter of fact, I'm not gonna wait till November 3rd because you never know what's gonna happen that day. Maybe it is a long line. Maybe you have something else to do. Maybe your children have to go to the hospital. I don't know.
yeah.
Do not wait November 3rd. It doesn't matter who you're voting for. If you really want to vote, I wouldn't wait November 3rd because you don't know what's gonna happen that day. So with that being said, let's talk. Should we move on and talk about something else, or do
Yeah.
you want to add anything else?
No, no, just
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I know, like on the topic, we basically the topic for tonight was pitfalls for non-U.S. citizens.
Hmm.
So kind of things that we might think that are legal, but then technically there's some what do you call loopholes
Right.
that could potentially cause us to be in trouble. So with that being said, what are some loopholes that you would think that maybe U.S. citizen can, I'm sorry, non-U.S. citizen can fall under that they might not aware of? So maybe let's start with jury duty.
Right. So jury duty is a big one, right? So that's another one that, like, uh jurors are supposed to be US citizens, right? And this one is especially tough for people, and it makes a lot of sense why it is tough. Because if we're in the state of Illinois, so but this is across the United States. Jury duty is typically it is for U.S. citizens. That means that if you're a U.S. citizen, you can serve on a jury. Um, yeah, you can sit for a jury. You get a summons. You go. That's your right, and that's your obligation as a U.S. citizen is to, if you're summoned, to go and do jury duty. What the problem is, how non-citizens, remember, non-citizens are green card holders, undocumented people, anybody who is not a citizen of the United States is a non-citizen of the United States. So what happens is, and how it's tricky for them, is that if anybody goes and gets a state ID, if you're over the age of 18, and or you go get your driver's license and you're over the age of 18, a lot of times your name goes in some type of directory, and you might get summoned for jury duty, right? And that's really common. So in some states, not all, but some states allow people who are undocumented to get driver's license, right? A lot of states allow you can get state IDs, etc. No big deal. Well, they go in that database as well, right? So then, let's say a month later, let's say you're undocumented or you're a green card holder. A month later, after you go get your state ID or driver's license, you get this jury, due summons, right, from your county. So if you live in Cook County, um, you know, let's give that example. You live in Cook County, you're, living in city of Chicago, you get this summons. So you're like, Cook County courts has summoned me to come serve on a jury. Why would you question that? You know, why would you? you may or may not even understand that you're not supposed to serve on the jury. And also, these people know that I'm not a citizen, so why would they even summon me? But they do. So now it's your responsibility to not serve on that jury. So oftentimes there's a number you can call if you know that you're supposed to opt out, but a lot of times I don't know if that's even, sometimes you are, right? But let's say you didn't do it and you actually have to go to the court. When you get to court, you have to be able to tell those people, I'm not eligible to serve. I'm not even eligible to be in this room. I'm not eligible to serve on any type of jury because I'm not a citizen. So it could be, intimidating if someone's English is not maybe their strongest suit, just to kind of, and or they feel that they're intimidated or they might not quite understand what's going on. It could be very frustrating for them as well. So, but it is one of those things that people should know that if you're not a citizen, you should not serve on a jury, even if you receive a summons. It doesn't mean ignore the summons. That I would not contact. I would not advise. You do need to tell the people that you're not eligible. And so, what happens if you do tell people eligible? Will they just take you off the list? Well, you probably get another summons, which happens sometimes, a lot of times. So, and I know this because I know an elderly person who has a green card who received a summons for jury duty, and it was the same thing. Her son contacted them and said she's ineligible. They said okay, so that excused her. But a couple months later, they sent her another summons as well, right? But she happened to be, with her son knew and understood that, but some people might not. So that's what. But that is a pitfall that often happens to people. So, oh, sorry. So I was going to say this. If that happens to someone, if you serve on a jury, it's the same thing. You need to, that can, so then that's you pretty much saying, I'm a citizen, right? It's not you saying it outside of your mouth, but that action tells immigration that you're holding yourself out to be a citizen because you're doing the type of activities that a citizen can do or that is they're allowed to do, right? And so you're going to need to get an attorney to see how you can kind of, I don't say get around it, but explain and fill out the proper paperwork to help you. Because when you are, if you're a green card holder trying to get your citizenship, that can be a problem. Same thing if you are undocumented trying to get your green card, that can pose you a problem as well. So I would say seek advice before you fill out any documentation if you are in that situation, or if you've already done it and you're not even in the process of going to the next stage of getting a green card um, or getting your citizenship, but you have served on a jury, or you sat there, if you've ever been on a jury, they put you in a room, they have you sit there, they only call you if they need you, but let's say you get dismissed because they don't call you for the jury, they pay you your $15 or $16 for the day, you've completed your civic duty, you're on some list somewhere, so you need to
Wow. Mhm.
um, you need to go ahead and talk to get some advice about that.
And then this is problematic because you will think that anybody can serve as on jury duty. Like it shouldn't have. I mean, personally, I think that it shouldn't have anything to do with if you're a U.S. citizen or not, because obviously there's so many non-U.S. citizen in this country, and then also they can be arrested, they can be accused of any crime, and then they say that you're gonna be, I guess, judged by your peers.
Mm-hmm.
And so isn't your peers your neighbors, which can also be like non-US citizen? And then I don't know. I would think that non-immigrants should be
So it's
that's a different.
it's controversial. I actually just had this discussion. It's actually very controversial. I found an article in it was yeah, it was California. It was 2013. The governor of California, so the state of California passed a law saying that green card holders can serve on juries, right?
Really?
Right. But excuse me, the state of Illinois, I'm sorry, I'm saying Illinois. The state of California did this. Sorry, I don't know if I said Illinois, but I meant California. The state of California, in 2013, their state people passed, their Congress passed a law. Their governor, right, he said no. And if he had said yes, California would have been the first state in the United States that allowed green card holders, right? The problem is, and this is what I was talking with the discussion. So state law, immigration law can be two different things.
Yeah.
Immigration is federal law. State law is Illinois
State.
law, Indiana, whatever law, state, right? Immigration has their rules, right? So just because your state says you can do something, if immigration says this is a violation, right? We consider this a violation. You can be in trouble. So another example is probably better clearer than that is which I can get into or I cannot get into, but it's marijuana, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Marijuana. We live in the state of Illinois. Illinois made January 1st made marijuana legal, right? But for for immigration purposes, it's federal law. They don't view it the same, right? So if you have an immigration, you know, the courts in immigration, they consider, some people may not think marijuana is a big deal. They do. They think it's a really big deal. So having any type of violation that has to do with marijuana is a problem. If you have any issues with marijuana, so marijuana is legal to a certain extent. You can't have like 3 pounds of marijuana on. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that if you got caught, and you're like, but it's legal in my state, and you're not. You were an immigrant, and you were trying to, get status, or you were having problems with immigration, and you were actually in front of an immigration judge, and you were trying to say, well, it's legal in this state. That's not the way immigration views it. So you have to be really careful. It is controversial whether it's been considered. So we're going back to jury duty. Jury duty has been considered your civic duty, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you're a citizen and you should be, they expect you to do and to do. So some people believe that it's only a citizen's right to do it. So it would be controversial. When I was talking earlier about this with someone, they were saying it should be challenged in court, and it may be. I don't know. I didn't have enough time to research it to see has it been. I can imagine it has been challenged,
Yeah.
but I see it challenged like um, if a person serves on a jury, right? And they go, let's say they're a green card holder, they serve in a jury, they go a couple years later, they go to get their citizenship and it's denied based on the fact that they served in a jury, right? Because they're saying you said you were a citizen. That I've heard of before. That I've heard that they've had to do a lot. They had to file appeal. They had an attorney. There was a lot of steps that went into it to get that appeals, for them to be able to eventually become a citizen. But it wasn't an easy process. So
Be
could that
avoided.
right? Well, could that eventually go to the highest court? Maybe one day, maybe it could. I see it possibly could, only because if they take the case. But um, I think the issues, one of the problems, besides like people being controversial, besides being like people who have their viewpoints about this should be for citizens, um, I think for me the bigger problem, or just for me, not for everyone else, but for me, I think it's hard. It's unclear for people to, let's say you're like I told you, the lady I knew who's elderly, who got, she got state ID and then she got jury duty. Like, what if her, relative didn't know, she would have went to jury duty, you know? So, and it's when I've been to jury duty, when they're excusing you from jury duty, I don't recall. When was the last? I think I went like 3 years ago, something like that. And I actually had to go in there and say, go in there and say I'm not eligible, for jury duty, right? And I wasn't eligible for jury duty, but they made me go in and tell them I was not eligible for jury duty. But I don't recall, to be honest with you, I do not recall them saying, listing off the reasons why a person would not be eligible for jury duty. And I don't recall any of that. I remembered something like, if you're not eligible, please say so. But how do you know? Especially if you just got here, you don't have somebody who's like advocating for you. How do you know you're not eligible? And then also, if you, it's kind of an intimidating atmosphere. There's, at least in my experience, there's a lot going on. There's people shouting, people sitting in different areas. So I don't know. I think it could be kind of tough to ask a person to that was sent from the county, hey, you come do jury duty, then putting the onus on them to go ahead and tell the people, actually, I don't qualify for it. Especially like if they're, you know, undocumented green card holder, whatever. So yeah.
Okay, so we went over jury duty and we
Right.
went a little bit over medical marijuana. Also, so we talk a little bit about marijuana, but we didn't talk about the medical aspect. So are you saying basically, I mean, at the end of the day, federal overrides state. Okay, so if it's even if it's legal in your state, be careful because it's still illegal in the federal. Okay, and then so with that being said, let's talk about IDs now.
Mhm.
Obviously we talk about voting, you may need your ID to go vote,
Mhm.
and so what are the different type of IDs that somebody can present?
So yeah, so there's a new thing called Real ID, right? So Real ID, that's REAL, Real ID. That's something that's new. Well, it's new and it's not new. It's new to all of us in the fact that we all who are everybody who has like a state ID, driver's license. Um, there was in 2005, so I'll go back. In 2005, this law was passed saying that they want to get these kind of like national IDs, right? They want every state that gives people state IDs and driver's licenses to, have checked certain information from each person that's getting it. And they want it to be uniform, right? So you have to check if their birth certificates, two forms of, identification for where they live at, prior IDs, whatever, social security card, what is it? Another thing they could taxes, things like that, that you can forms. There's lots of different forms you can bring in to prove who you are. So 2005, this was enacted, but no, it didn't actually happen until under this current administration. They set a date for it to happen this year, 2020, but there was an extension for it to happen. I think people have until October 1st, 2021, in order to get what we call a real ID. And that means that people have to go get their real ID, meaning that you have to go to your Secretary of State or wherever your driver's license, wherever you get your state ID or ID, you have to present these documents showing who you are. They'll give you a new ID card, and it'll have a special like emblem on it. Every state is different, but it'll have like a special thing, like almost like a mascot. And it'll have like a little thing on the ID so that they know that your state is compliant with this federal standards of what an ID is. Now, why is this important? Why does it matter? It matters because this is the ID they're going to use when you go and try to get on a plane, right? And when you try to travel domestically, I'm not talking about internationally, I'm talking about domestically. Domestic is between the states and the United States. So if you want to fly from New York to California, you want to fly from Montana to Florida, you want to fly from Ohio to, Alaska, wherever, you have to have this real ID, right? Starting October 1st, 2021, you have to have this real ID. If you don't have the real ID, you have to have your U.S. passport in order to travel. The problem is certain states allow people who are undocumented, who have certain statuses to have ID cards, to have driver's license. Those people can, so before you used to be able to get a driver's license, or, get these IDs. Now you can still get real IDs if you can prove that you have a current DACA, if you can prove you have TPS, if you can prove that you filed for asylum. If you have to be able to prove certain things with current documentation, and then you'll get the real ID. But your real ID is going to say temporary, right? And it's only temporary for the time frame that they believe that, whatever your situation is, it's pending. So that's problematic, because when you show your real ID, right now it's for federal things that you need your real ID for, which is going to be, uh, for us, for the most part, it's the airport, right? But when you show that you have your real ID, if my real ID just has the regular real ID, it has a little emblem that it's supposed to have, then okay, that kind of indicates to you, that I'm a citizen or whatever. I have the proper, papers. The person who has a temporary real ID that says temporary or whatever it says on there, something's up, right? And even if you go to USCIS's website, immigration's website, it tells you you're not supposed to discriminate against those people, because they may have temporary for multiple reasons. We don't know how people are going to react. We're scared that it's possible that they may, discriminate, because the minute they see that they have temporary, they know that something's, versus before you would never know. But now you wouldn't know, but now you would definitely know there's something different. And so if a person doesn't, so let's say you want to travel anywhere within the United States by plane in the after 2021, in October 2021, let's say it's November 2021, you don't have your real ID, you can't get on the plane. You have to have this real ID in order to get. That's every single.
Or your passport, right? No, or your passport, or your passport from your
Or your
native country.
no, no, no. So right, so this is for every single person every single person who's over the age of 18, in the United States, right? So whether you're a citizen or non-citizen, this is for every single one of us. Um, if you're under 18, if you're traveling with an adult, right, you don't need it. But if you're over 18 and you're traveling, you need it. Yeah, so a lot of people don't have passports. They don't have US passports, right? So if they don't have US passports, they need to get, so they can travel with their US passport from state to state, or they have to have their real ID. So
And and a lot of time, like the easiest way to get your passport is to have an ID. So you might as well
right,
just get your ID, right?
right.
Okay, so just recap for anyone joining us now. My name is Winnie Antoine. I am an entrepreneur in the financial services industry, and I am live in conversation every Wednesday with attorney Daphne Chameleon, where we discuss, every matters from immigration to wealth creation. We are just here to add value. So if you find this conversation valuable, kindly share it with a friend or with a family member, so that they can, learn about who we are and what we do. And I've been broadcasting Daphne's information down there. So if you want to get in touch with her, you can kindly do so via phone or via email. And if you have any questions, or if you have any topic that you want us to discuss on a future Wednesday, feel free um, to go ahead and contact us or put it in the comment, so that way we can go ahead and discuss it. Showing some love to Kenson, who just says keep doing your thing.
Thank
And
you.
yes, so we appreciate all the love, all the comments. We appreciate it. So I just typed that October 1st, 2021 is when the deadline for the real ID is. So go ahead and do that. Obviously, voting is near. Next Tuesday is the last day to go out and vote. So that's why today we had a long conversation about the importance of voting If you are a U.S. citizen, be sure that you are a U.S. citizen. That we have this privilege. Even though we call it a right, it's also a privilege. Go ahead and vote. It's important. Who you vote for is your business.
Right.
Go ahead and vote.
Right.
Go ahead and vote. Was there anything else that you wanted to discuss this evening, Daphne, or anyone else have any question?
No, I'll take any questions.
No? Okay. And then so just a little recap. Just a little recap. We say go out and vote, but then this is not only a presidential voting season. Okay,
Right.
when we vote, if you voted before, okay, you know that ballot has 1,000,001 names in it. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but for real though. So we are voting for senators. We are voting for maybe who else? Representative.
Right.
We are voting for judges.
State,
So it's
state, sometimes state's attorneys, you're voting
yeah,
for, sometimes the attorney general, you're right, you're voting for senators. So it matters.
yeah, it really does matter. So it's not just a presidential vote, and I think that's what I guess the discrepancy is, if I should use that word or not, because a lot of time we get so excited about the presidential race and
Right.
then forgot about all the different level of the government, such as the U.S. senators, the representative, the state attorneys, and as you said, the judges. And then so I will say maybe 9 out of 10, you may not know the name of the judges. I don't know all the judges. But then what Daphne said is go ahead and do some, research before you go to the poll. Do some research. Let me go back to the comments. You said I'm sorry.
Black
So
women's.
the Black Women Lawyers Association, right?
Yep.
So you can go ahead and visit that website, and you can see the recommendation. I mean, it's up to you, to whether you want to accept the recommendation or not. But at the end of the day, if they're dealing in the field, maybe it's worth it taking to take the knowledge about what they know. I would say do your own research. And also we talked about be prepared because a lot can happen in November 3rd. So don't just wait for November 3rd. If you can go out and vote, do it earlier than later, so that you're not depending on November 3rd because you don't know what may happen that day. And then Daphne also talked about how if for any reason that you're being mistreated, you're not being allowed to vote, or you're being asked for 2, 3, 4, 5 IDs, maybe some drop of some blood drop. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead and call this number. As a matter of fact, I wanted to break down the hour vote to the actual numbers. I'll do that on my comment later. So reach out to 866 hour vote. So therefore, they have attorneys who can help you, who can find out exactly what's going on, so that you can be allowed to exercise your right to vote as long as you are a U.S. citizen. So that's my little recap for you all this evening. We appreciate you always coming live with us. Anything you want to add, Daphne?
No, oh, I did have. This is just a random thought, but like, do you have any plans for, or any thoughts, I should say, for after the election? Because I was thinking about next,
I know.
right? On Wednesday, we will know the results. We think
Hopefully, right? Because we don't know what may happen.
we have no idea what's going to
We
happen.
have no idea what may happen. So hopefully, you never know.
We
That could
don't.
be a bullshit God thing.
So it'll be really interesting to see, like, are you planning on like stocking up? Like, do you think there will be protests either way, right? Either if whoever wins, if the other side will come out and protest, do you think it's going to be peaceful, whoever wins, right? Like, will people, I don't know.
This is stuff definitely. Definitely, that's a conversation. We're just gonna have a conversation next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Talk about
so
what's going on
yeah,
and
we're
how
just gonna
chaotic.
talk about yeah. Christine says prepare for the worst, and I think so. I think so. Prepare for the worst because at the end of the day, everybody want the guy to win.
Yes.
And then so the way things have been going lately is if my guy do not win, something shady happen.
Mm.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then so if my guy do not win, something shady happen, I want to have everybody involved to find out exactly, what happened, and my guy need to be like the president.
Right.
That's what I'm feeling right now. So with that being said, I think either way, just prepare for the worst. And then that's why, I'm here when it's my Wednesday. That's why I'm always talking about, us being responsible with our lives and
Mhm.
us taking charge of our family because really, I mean, like, I'm not gonna say like the government doesn't affect us because they are making laws that could
Yeah.
potentially affect our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But then honestly, they do not affect our life to the 100% that we may think. Okay. And then so, regardless if you're wealthy or not, obviously they're making laws that can, call into your bottom line, and then which is why we have to go out to vote for our interests. But at the end of the day, I think what's been happening is that we are putting too much focus on the government. We are giving the government too much of our power that they are the one who basically is in charge of our life. And then so that's why we're fighting so much to put our guy in. But then really at the end of the day, we have so much power to do so much better, to change so many things.
Well,
So go ahead.
I'll say what I hear you saying is like there are parts that we can control and there are parts that we can't control. I mean, we have and the parts we can't control is ties back into voting, right? So we can
Yes, yes,
say that,
exactly.
right? But at the same time, too, there are things like that you can put in place, like putting your financial situation in place. Coming up with your own plans. Life insurance, bank accounts, whatever you want to do, putting your stuff into in order.
Yeah,
Control what you can control.
exactly. And even not just for us personally, but
Yeah.
also for our communities. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? Because we are looking for the government to bring a community response, to bring community solutions, but then we are the community. You see what I'm saying? And then so no one, care about your house more than you care about your house. You see what I'm saying? And then so with that being said, if we are actively, supporting our community, supporting each other, supporting one another for us to create, opportunities, to create jobs, to just help our community, then at the end of the day, we don't have to have this big old fight, hating each other, just being like hateful. It
Yeah.
does not need to be this way.
I do think we're polarized. Like I do think people are like you're either this side or this side, and that's why I say that because it's not like you can say okay if this person wins then the other side's gonna act crazy. I think it's both. I think literally it
Both
could.
way gonna go crazy.
That's what I was concerned and I was thinking like what Miss Renee said, right? Miss Christine Renee said, uh,
Like,
right,
prepare for the worst.
prepare for
Prepare
the
for the
right.
worst.
So, yeah, that's what I was thinking because I was talking to some friends and we were saying like, people were saying, or should we buy food and just be prepared to stay in? I
Exactly.
don't know. I have
That's
no idea what's happening.
exactly. There's some truth to that.
Yeah, like
There's definitely some truth to that.
and also like how's that gonna affect our I'd be interested to see. Well, obviously we'll know in a week, right? Like at least we'll know something in a week, right? But I
Hopefully.
right, hopefully. But I would love to see how that's going to or just see the next steps of how, the laws will be, be affected either way. either way it will be affected, actually, either way, whoever's in office, there's a lot of stuff planned. So, my passion is immigration. So, my focus will be on like how immigration laws will be changing in the next, couple months. Whatever administration's there. If the current administration stays, they have some stuff in place that they want to enforce. And there's a couple lawsuits going on. They have stuff that's coming down the pipeline as well. If the administration changes, they have some stuff that they said that they're going to put in place within the first 100 days. So it'll just, regardless of who's there are changes that will be coming for just my little field. But there's for all of us, for every single thing, right? Like Real ID affects every single person in the United States, right? There's all type of other stuff that's, we have COVID-19, what's going on with that, vaccination,
Exactly.
where you live matters, what state you live matters. That's another thing for, my, push for voting too, is that, we live in Illinois. Our numbers are going up now, but it's we don't have some of the, we have a lot of places where there are a lot of restrictions were put into place. We have certain things that are going on versus other places weren't. If there was some mandate to force everybody to get vaccinations, I don't think they could, but do we have an administration that would push against it? Certain things like that have to be kind of like taken into place. So it votes. Like if you want, voting matters. Voting who you want to represent you matters. At the end
I
of the
mean,
day.
yeah, but then I feel like we just so right now our live conversation is done. This is just me and Daphne
Okay.
talking, and we just letting you be part of a conversation that we would have had anyway.
Right, 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 right.
So with that being said, you said something about the COVID vaccination, and
Right.
then you're saying that technically it cannot be forced. But then giving the whole dynamic of everything that's going on now, especially with our children going back to school, or even people who are working in the healthcare field, especially like with the flu vaccine, like they are required to take that. Okay. And then so don't you think that it's gonna be like a required to take the corona vaccine?
So, okay, yes and no. I don't think that there'll be some, yes, okay, so I don't think there's going to be like every single person in the United States of America has to have this vaccine. I do think that there'll be back ways, back doorways.
Yeah.
Like, I do think like if you work in the medical field, if you work in with kids, if you work whatever, they're going to try to mandate that these people get, like their employers will try to mandate that the employees get a vaccination. And then how they'll get the us, the people, is people who have kids. If you want your kids to go back to school, they may try to,
Participate in any activity, going
right,
anywhere.
they'll try to
You
see,
know?
like they'll try to mandate, have they been vaccinated in order to participate in school. That could be something that they try to do for public school that get federal funding. So and then that's the choice, right? Like that becomes like, but a lot of people are afraid because they don't want to be guinea pigs. They don't want to be the first ones, getting these vaccinations. They don't know the side effects. Is this, you know, people have their reservations.
And
So,
then that's justified. That's
right,
that's that's
right.
justified.
But I don't know. I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know what the answer is. Like, as far as, but it's not easy because it's like, people want to get back to work, and some people are forced to get, to can't work from home and have to be out there. So I don't know.
So I recently heard a conversation about the Supreme Court justice, right? So right
Hmm.
now there are 9 Supreme Court justices. So we
Right,
recently had a new one. And then so with that being said,
right.
the conversation is about will they update, the requirements to just have more than 9 Supreme Court justice. Are you aware of this conversation and what your
Yeah,
thought of?
yeah. I've heard that Biden has stated if he becomes president that he will increase the amount of Supreme Court justices, right? Um, which will make it very interesting. Right now, with the with Amy. Barrett, I'm saying her name wrong, with the new Supreme Court justice, it's now the court is considered conservative. It's 6-3, right? Six conservative, three not conservative, or considered conservative, whatever that means. So it would be interesting if he added a couple more Supreme Court justices, and to see what the outcome would be. What people, I'm sure people would be upset about that. It would be changing, precedent. There's so many things that are going to come into play with that. But yeah, I am aware that that's conversation. That's what he says. Well, I don't know what's going to happen though.
I mean, you never know. We never know what's gonna happen.
That's if
All we
he becomes,
do know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's only if he becomes president. If he doesn't
Yeah,
become president, then he can't. Obviously, he won't be able to do it.
yeah. So at the end of the day, we do not know what's gonna happen. All we know is go out and vote.
Right, right.
All we know that November 3rd, next Tuesday, is the last day to vote. Go out and vote. Before we close this live, I know that for the U.S. Census,
Mhm.
that's still going on. Okay, so right, is it still going on? I
I,
think it is.
I thought. Don't quote me.
Yeah,
Is it? Should I look it up real quick?
I muted myself and I started to talk. Yeah, I don't quote me, but I think it's still going on. And if it is, we still have to go out and take advantage of the U.S. Census. So if we did not do it, please do that because it's so important for your state in regards to the amount of money that they can get uh, for different necessities that the state needs. So with that being said, please be sure to take the U.S. Census survey so that we can know how many people is in our state so that our state can be properly funded. Because at the end of the day, if it's not funded, then our tax is gonna go up. Okay, yeah, my sister say it's still going on.
Oh, okay, good. Because I was looking at
Yeah,
my phone.
I think it is still going on. So take advantage of that too. And especially maybe you have elderly parents,
Yeah.
maybe you have people who's not tech savvy, help them out with that. Okay, so don't just take it for yourself. Obviously, if you live in the same household, I think you can do one for the whole household.
Yeah.
But if you have family members or friends who you think may not be able to feel it by themselves, go ahead and help them out with that. That's what I wanted to end with. It's 9:10. I mean, I had a great conversation with you, Daphne. I hope people found this conversation valuable. This is my sign that I need to end it right now. My name is Renee Antoine. This is my handsome son, Wisdom. He's always my special guest.
I will go.
So it's a pleasure being with you all every Wednesday at 8 p.m. We are live in conversation with Attorney Daphne Chameleon to discuss things that matter to you, immigration law, family law, business law. So go out and reach out to her. And I am in the financial services industry, always looking for people who want to pivot, people who want to be entrepreneur. I will see everything that's going on. You can be at home, stay with your children like I'm doing now, and be an entrepreneur. So if that's a conversation you want to have, go out and reach out to me, and we can see if we're a good fit for one another. That is it for now. Winnie Antoine signing out. One love, go vote.
Mhm.
You want to have any closing?
Nope, go
Yep,
vote.
you got it. Go vote. Appreciate you all. I think we have one comment. My sister say hi, Wheeze. Yeah, that's my little Wheeze. All right. Good night, everyone. Appreciate y'all.
Bye.
You say good night. Say good night.
Hi, Wisdom. I love that. I love that name.
Yeah, that's my little Wheeze. Good
Yeah.
night, y'all. See you next Wednesday. Let's see what happens.